Right.
Oh,
Bam, bam.
good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Shehan, Simon, Ben webinar. Welcome, everybody. How are you?
It's good to be here, Ben. Thank you for having us.
Stoked to be here.
It is good to be here tonight, and wherever you're watching from all around the lower North Island. It's good to have everyone here. And if you're not watching this live, you're catching up with it later, it's awesome to have you joining us as well. Tonight, we're going to be talking in this webinar about our services at Arise, which are going to be really cool. And we want to talk about the why behind the what of what we do every Sunday and also on Friday nights with our youth services, just to give people a picture who wouldn't, really see behind the scenes, or I guess understand the why behind the what of what we do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about, I guess, what some of our expectations are for our team, and how we want to approach Sundays to get a win. And then also we want to talk about the how of pulling off services, pre-service, praise and worship, light, sound, everything like that. And if you do have questions, please send them to us on our link, which is in our sidebar. What's up, Aidan? Hi, Vic. It's great to have everyone here. Well, we're going to dive into it. Our church services at Arise are obviously the first part of our strategy in reaching our country, know God, and that is that our church services are really the moment for us to encounter God and to for people to experience God, because we know that when people have a moment with God, they get momentum in their life, and the more moments they have, the more momentum they get, and they feel inspired to change their world and really to deepen their relationship with God. We have a mission. Obviously, Arise's mission is to revitalize Christianity in our nation. That's our goal. We want to bring a revitalizing of not just people's personal, private walk with God, but their public expression of faith and their engagement with God and engagement with other people. So Sundays are so important for us, for our church family, and we know that if our Sundays are really good, our Sundays are strong, then it means that our church is strong, because people are encountering God. So it's really cool. Now, alongside me tonight, I have two very experienced people that are part of the Arise journey. Maybe just take a couple of minutes to just explain what you guys do, what your role is as part of the team, and and then we can dive into it. So, Simon, you go first.
Me?
I defer to you.
Well, my name's Simon. It's great to be here, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, 3 minutes and 20 seconds into this video, I think you lost us. No, I don't know. What do you reckon? Should I keep going?
Keep going, yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. We got a little warning here about connection, but so I kind of help oversee really all areas of the creative team, along with my wife Emma. She works alongside me in the office doing that, and so we kind of oversee all service stuff, and then as well as that, we kind of help run our team that works in the head office that kind of create all the what we call the visual communications of the church. So that's like all the design and video elements to services and promotion and communications that you'll see around the place. I've been on staff for, I think it's 11 and a half years now, so a reasonable amount of time. Been a part of Arise for 12 and a half years, and quite involved on Sundays, often involved with the sound team doing front of house or something like that on a Sunday, or just milling about.
Yeah.
Being an encourager.
Yeah.
Nice.
Barnabas.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, thanks, bro. Shehan?
Nice. And my name's Shehan. I am involved in running praise and worship for Arise Church, and really that involves the putting together the teams for every campus, and and their discipleship, and also in a big way, what we're trying to do with praise and worship on a Sunday, and moving praise and worship forward in the direction that we think that it should go for our church, and the writing of songs and the producing of our music, and various bits and bobs. So this will be good tonight.
Many hats, and my role is kind of to be involved with over our services. So all of our kind of run sheets, and a lot of our I'm kind of involved with Shehan with worship, and with the creative managers and stuff like that. So if you see me around, I'm usually trying to make Sundays better and trying to make our team go to the next level. Anyway, speaking of the next level, just wanted to start with tonight by just sharing this thought from the book of James in the Bible, and the Message version says this, that says in James 1, chapter 14, says, "Dear friends, do you think you'll get anywhere in this if you learn all the right words but never do anything? Does merely talking about faith indicate that a person really has it? For instance, you come upon an old friend dressed in rags and half-starved and say, 'Good morning, friend, be clothed in Christ, be filled with the Holy Spirit,' and walk off without providing so much as a coat or a cup of soup. Where does that get you? Isn't it obvious that God talk without God acts is outrageous nonsense? I can already hear one of you agreeing by saying, 'Sounds good. You take care of the faith department. I'll handle the works department.' Not so fast. You can no more show me your works apart from your faith than I can show you my faith apart from my works. Faith and works, works and faith fit together hand in glove." And I was thinking about this with regards to our creative teams, and also a lot of our sound guys, a lot of our lighting guys who are watching this webinar. I was thinking that sometimes in church life, we can kind of categorize ourselves, well, one department does the works and the delivery, another part does the faith and the really believing for breakthrough. And this verse where it says, faith and works, works and faith fit together hand in glove, I think is really applicable for what we're trying to achieve with the guys that are doing our services, because unless we approach what we're doing with faith, it doesn't matter really our level of expertise or our level of skill. If we don't have faith, then we actually don't have a vehicle to change people's lives. So I think for all of us, we can sort of say, I'm a sound guy, I'm not a preacher, or I work behind the desk. I don't MC services. But I think that we've got to have a mentality that all of us bring our faith to the table. So whenever we approach Sunday, we bring our faith, because without faith, it's impossible to please God. And so, yeah, I really just wanted to lead with that, because when it comes to our services, we want people to know God, but people can't know God unless there's a platform of faith and belief coming in. And so whatever we do it not just out of works, but out of faith. And those two things fit together hand in glove. So that really is the undergirding kind of thing of what we're trying to achieve, every person bringing their faith to the table every single week. So that's cool. And I wanted to just also talk tonight, not just about faith, but a lot of you guys would know the values that we have at Arise: love, grow, give, smile, excel, unite, Arise. And one of the key values, I think, that make Sunday services a success, or our church services, is this value of unity.
Yeah.
So we have faith, we approach with faith, but really the next real building block is unity and uniting together as one. And I think when it comes to all of our departments, every different area, especially in creative arts and that kind of stuff, we can be quite individualistic in our approach, but unity really is letting go of the me and taking hold of we. So it's like letting go of what my preferences and stepping into what is best for the overall, the greater good. So I wanted to talk with you guys tonight about that, about unity and how we can I guess, preserve unity and create a sense of unity amongst our teams to make church services a success. Yeah, just wondered whether we could just dwell on that point for a little bit.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, Shehan, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think from a praise and worship perspective, it's very clear that there must be a coming together in terms of what we do. So, if we're in the middle of a song and we want to go a particular direction, and let's say the next chord is going to be a G sharp, there actually isn't necessarily the time to stop and discuss whether that's the right thing to do. We actually need to be working on the same page, going the same direction, and united in our ability to I guess, go somewhere. And I think part of that is not only, I guess, the submission aspect, but also just the knowing that each person is doing their thing for the win.
Yeah.
So then we're like, cool, there's a lot of trust as a result of the unity. And we can create something better with that trust.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. Obviously we've got leadership in our services and we really believe in like designated authority. So, often we'd hear Pastor John talk to us, like even as a staff, and like he would pull us up sometimes where a worship leader, for example, would stand on stage and would say, come on, everybody, let's lift our hands to God, or let's lift up a shout of praise or sing your own song. The truth is that in that meeting, in that moment, the person who's in authority in the meeting is the worship leader.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of addressed to us, like, if we're not kind of in authority with them, it's not about our preferences, it's about the lines of unity.
Yeah.
And I think that is where the power is, where the blessing is not in my preference or what I think is best.
Yes.
It's actually in my submission to my clear lines of leadership and authority on the day.
Yeah.
So we've obviously got on Sundays, the way it's organized. Do you want to just kind of talk about how a Sunday would be structured, or would from a leadership perspective, and who's kind of running point?
Yeah, cool. Well, for those of you who are involved on Sundays in like some aspect of running a service in the auditoriums that we run, you'll know that we have a team of producers who are we kind of refer to them as like the glue of the teams, kind of bringing all aspects of a Sunday together and helping everyone be on the same page and that kind of thing. And generally within that team, we will have someone who's called the exec producer, who's kind of overseeing all aspects of the day inside the auditorium. And there'll also sometimes be someone called a stage manager who might be running a room whilst the exec producer may not be there. We also have generally have a creative manager in each campus who's kind of oversees that producing team, often is the exec producer or someone like that on a Sunday as well. And that person is often could be quite new to the role, potentially, like, they may be a new exec producer or something like that, or they may be quite young, or, they may not know everything about every area, but really their role is to help bring unity to the team. And it's kind of our job, no matter how experienced we are or how senior we are or what role we're playing on the day, to kind of like help them really get the ball into the goal, which is to see a service run real smoothly and kind of get all the elements in place that we need. So I know Shehan and I, for instance, we're like quite hands-on on a Sunday, often, like pretty much every Sunday. Shehan will be playing keyboard or leading worship, and I'm often behind the sound desk. And although we have quite senior roles within the team, like Monday to Friday, and we still obviously bring some of that on a Sunday, if a producer comes to us and asks us to do something, we're like, yeah, sweet. Like we're straight in behind them, helping see the win, because we kind of understand the bigger picture of wanting to have that unity amongst the team and trust, and knowing the end goal. It's not about necessarily our preferences, although we don't want to create a team that is just, yes men. We want, like, I think we're going to talk at some point about how we can have constructive feedback and all that kind of thing. But but it's really about that sense of like having one person kind of leading the team and everyone supporting that person. And generally on a Sunday, that is the exec producer or the creative manager of a campus.
I like what you're saying about it's not about your personal preferences, but we work together for the win. And I was just thinking about how drummers do that and how members of our team actually do that from a worship perspective, because we encourage personal creativity.
Yeah.
We really want to see people flourish in that and have an expression of that. But we're also trying to achieve something. We're also trying to see something particular happen. So we encourage people to be creative, but almost within the brief that they're given. So a key example would be, let's say, for example, in a worship song, we might want to start like at a medium level, then we might want to take it up and build it, and then we might want to drop it. And I think where individual creativity and personal preference can come in is as long as they fulfill that role, but they can do it however they like. And so I think that's part of our unity is working together in our role, but also flourishing within that.
Totally.
So
we were kind of joking about the different types of trash as well, like there's many ways to trash.
That's right.
What was I gonna say? The other thing about that whole thing is like, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, sometimes you actually don't have the complete picture of like what the goal is as well. That's where that trust comes in.
That's right.
You're kind of following the imperative of a producer or someone who's kind of actually may have a bit of a wider scope, whereas we're often specialists on the day working within a team, but that person's whole role is designed to have a wide view of what's going on. So they may have, like you're saying, they may have to make a call in the moment. Like a band leader even has that kind of aspect to their role where they've got wide view. They may make a call and you've just got to trust them that they're making the right call, even if you're not sure or you may disagree in the moment. You just roll with it, keeping unity alive, and like I guess the whole service as a whole kind of moving forward.
I think it's good. I think that with unity, it's not really shown when you agree.
That's right.
Like actually, true unity is shown when you disagree.
That's right.
And really, unity is actually shown not in a public place. It's actually a private thing. Smile at church, and smile is more than just putting on a front. It's actually adopting an attitude of positivity and not cynicism. And I think, where unity gets awry is when people have things that they're unresolved in their heart, and then they become cynical about leadership, and it doesn't happen often in our environment, but I think it would be good for us now, guys, to talk about like what happens, how do we resolve things, like we're talking about personal preferences, we're talking about unity or things that people don't understand. What if people don't understand the why? What's the best way to resolve that? What would be the best kind of channel to do that?
Well, I think like probably we're definitely, as a organization, we're on a journey of like trying to empower people with the understanding of what we want them to do so that they can run with it. And I think inevitably along that journey, as new people join, like they may not have a complete picture of what's going on, or may even have a new idea that has never been thought about before in an environment, and it like at some point just needs to be discussed and talked about. But I think like bringing clarity, I reckon, is like a real key thing, and part of clarity is like actually having a yarn about stuff. If you're like on the different pages, not necessarily in the moment, like calling like chords, like on the fly or whatever. Like you kind of got to wait, until after the service or having a debrief. I know like within the campuses that I've been in recently, we've definitely been doing debriefs, and that I assume that it's like a bit of a cultural thing across campuses that everyone has a chat afterwards. And I think like talking about thinking about if you have like differing opinions or whatever, thinking about why you do and kind of chatting it through as objectively as you can, without any kind of emotion or whatever, I think is really important. That can be done in a group, or if it needs to happen like a one-on-one little, like, you know, chat behind closed doors kind of thing. Like, I think that's real healthy. You know? Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. But it's I guess the idea is like to bring clarity if someone's uncertain about something, why we do something the way we do, or if there's like new ideas coming to the front, how we kind of like evolve those ideas and bring them into a new way of doing things. I think we're always open to changing. Like, we're constantly tweaking what we do. So
Totally. I'm just thinking, for the sake of time, we actually were talking this afternoon about the fact that we could talk for hours about services, and we haven't even actually started talking about the service itself yet. So VJ has said it's James 2 verse 14, just to correct. That's a person coming into unity. So there you go.
Thanks, VJ.
We appreciate that. And also, if you do have any questions for my fellow panelists tonight, please fire them through. We probably won't answer why you didn't make it through, like your worship audition or anything like that publicly, but okay. So we want to talk now about our services, and the why behind everything that we do in the actual service itself on the run sheet on Sunday. We've kind of broken this down into a few different areas. We're going to talk about the pre-service, just like the look, the feel, the atmosphere we're wanting. Shehan's going to talk to us about praise, worship, first song, second song, third song, fourth song. They all have a different why and different vibe to them, I guess is the word. But just to be clear, our goal with all of our services is that people would find Jesus. That is the goal. We exist for lost people, for the uninitiated, for people that are coming into church that are, far from God, and they need to experience the love of God. So that undergirds everything that we do, and I just don't think we could ever forget that. Whether we're leading worship or we're sitting behind an AV mix, we're believing for people to respond to Jesus. So that obviously undergirds everything that we do. But what we're going to do now is actually talk about a service, and I want to start by talking about pre-service.
Great.
Pre-service, because actually entering into an auditorium is really an important moment for people. People come in there for the first time. So Sai and Shehan as well. You guys want to just talk to us about, as a team, what are we looking for the pre-service? As people walk in. Can you talk to us about the ambience, the atmosphere?
Well, I reckon it's just important to say just off the bat as well, for all these things we're talking about, they're like kind of like the general like rule, but they aren't always super prescriptive. Like, it's kind of like a general guideline, but sometimes we actually do other things than this, but it's kind of like, I guess, like a typical Sunday kind of thing, right? Like, for instance, Vision Sunday just gone was a bit different, but anyway, pre-service, I think, I guess the way that we would think about it, we've got like some music playing, that we've set lighting for the room, like the stage is kind of cleared, everything's tidy and all that kind of stuff. And the room temperature ideally is like not too cold, but not too warm. It's like right in that zone of like, sometimes I think it's actually better to just be slightly on the cool side. Slightly on the cool side. But really what we're trying to do is people walk into the room and it feels like church is on, and it can be like interesting environment if you've been part of the rehearsals and everything. You've kind of been there for a few hours, and you're kind of like, because you're in it, you're not necessarily thinking about what it's like to walk into that room in that moment for the first time. So that's part of that wide view thing, and just being able to set everything up so that as people walk in, they're experiencing like this, just kind of like this atmosphere of like, oh, this is awesome, like this is kind of like not a crazy people freaking out, running around trying to get things sorted at the last minute kind of environment. So pre-service music.
Nice.
loud but not too loud. It's like everything is just Goldilocks. So like lighting on but not too bright. And then temperature warm but not too warm. Yeah. And then generally we'll have like something up on screens, like a pre-roll, like slides running through with a bunch of info about what's coming up in church or something like that. Yeah.
One thing that I've been thinking about is how everything is strategic leading to a point in our service.
Yeah, totally.
So the pre-service is a strategic step into praise, which is a strategic step into worship, which is a strategic step, and these all culminate near the end of our service when the preacher or whoever gives an altar call. And I feel like the build in every element is almost critical for that pinnacle moment.
Yeah, totally.
So I feel like pre-service actually can set an amazing tone and environment for us to come into the presence of God. So having that, if that music is kind of the wrong song, the wrong vibe, that actually hinders that. If the lights are too bright, if it feels like a supermarket, that doesn't work. We've got to have the right vibe, the right atmosphere and environment. So
that's great. I love that. Like, it's going to launch us off. It's going to bring us to a point where we're ready and expectant for praise and worship. We're like launching that service, so we're not like stumbling in and we're not like, if it's dynamically, we're not kind of going like that and then coming up again to praise it. We're kind of like just building the whole way. So now let's talk. If that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to create that atmosphere. We've got a pre-service video, it kind of launches, brings everybody in, and then bang, we're into praise. And then over to you, man.
Wow.
Like, talk to us about praise. Talk to us about the why behind the what. And what would a consistent experience be like? What are we going for? That praise set, that first song.
Praise is such a powerful biblical tool. And I just think it's it's one of, we are very strategic and intentional with the fact that we put praise at the start of our service, because there's so many scriptures in the Bible that show us how praise is a gateway to almost the throne room of heaven, into the presence of God. In Psalm 100 it says, "I'll enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise." And I it's, I mean, biblically, there's on a spiritual level, there's the what we believe is that praise breaks chains. We can move forward into the presence of God. And on a natural level, I actually think there is a lot of joy, connection, fun that comes with praise. And I think it's just so powerful. We really, when we start praise, we're really believing that we would create an environment of expectation. That faith would rise, that people would go, cool, I'm here now, I want to connect with God. And also begin that we would create an environment that begins in us to take our eyes off the things that are around us and start putting our eyes and our focus and our attention on Jesus. So as in, these things might have happened or whatever in my day or my week, but here I am now, and now I magnify God. And that's where I think the thanksgiving comes in, giving God glory and singing songs of praise. Such a powerful tool to get our eyes off ourselves and our world and onto Jesus.
Totally. So, it's such a good point. I just think for all of us, like the Bible says that we bring a sacrifice of praise, because it's not natural for us to praise. Like it is actually a sacrifice. So that's why it often can feel a little bit awkward to break through the natural kind of like tendency to just sit back and not engage. But actually the power is when it's like David, when he became undignified, that's when the breakthrough came.
That's right.
And we're not trying to get people jumping around in linen ephods, but we are trying to get people to a point where they're free of what people think, and they're free of they're free. They put off their old clothes, and they put on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So and
the flip side of that, what we wouldn't want to see is people just coming in and just singing the songs. And I think I like to, I guess, juxtapose
Yeah.
those two things, because I think it's important to see what we wouldn't want to see,
Yeah.
but the opposite of that being like, yes, let's engage, let's come to Jesus.
Yeah, totally. So we've got that first song, Shehan. So in the 10 a.m. service, what are we really going for? In a morning service, or the 9:15, wherever people are, what are we going for in that moment?
Yeah, I think it's key words for me that pop into my mind would be words like connection, joy, and really that focus on God. So as in removing focus away from ourselves and putting it on God.
Yeah.
And I think as everybody comes into the auditorium, we want an environment that I'm not in a temperature term, but in general feels warm. This is a place that I feel safe at home in, where I belong, and that's a connected environment. I think our sound, it's important that our sound contributes to that. So for example, the way that we would mix, we want it to be loud enough that people feel comfortable to sing out publicly. I know in our environment and in our society, people feel uncomfortable singing boldly. So we actually want the volume at a level where they can actually sing out and not be concerned that people are going to be listening to them or hearing them or thinking about our neighbour's voice.
But not so loud.
That's right.
Like,
at the same time, we don't want a harshness or an uncomfortableness.
I love those words. I love that. So if you're a worship leader watching tonight, I'm thinking connection, joy. Now, okay, like this is great. You walk into a Rise conference, you're leading praise, the place is packed.
Yes.
And there's expectation.
Okay, cool.
It's 9:15 in Christchurch,
and it's cold.
And it's cold. Not just Christchurch, but it's a Wellington. Southerly's rolling in.
And there's 3.5 people.
There's 3.5 people in the auditorium.
Totally.
What? Do we approach differently, or do you just what are we trying to? What advice would you give there?
I think we are still, the end goal is the same.
Yes.
But I think the way that we go about it, we throw this word around that I actually love, this word breakthrough. And I think there are different ways to see what we would call a positive breakthrough or a spiritual breakthrough in an environment. And I think some of the words that we're throwing out are actually keys to seeing that happen and come about. So for example, when it's cold, we do some natural things. We make sure the temperature inside the auditorium is comfortable. So this is actually a place where people want to be, and doesn't contribute to ongoing coldness. But also, I think the joy and the life in people's faces, the positivity of our team, is actually very critical to people approaching God. And I think that connects really well with others. When somebody comes in, they're like, "Oh, that guy's having fun." I could do that too.
It's good.
But like genuine, like like if it's like you've got this like stone smile on your face, like I think that can have almost the opposite effect. It's like kind of I was going to ask about you throughout the word connection, or like a feeling of like connectedness at the start of a service, like from a worship and people on stage or whatever, or if you've got thoughts about anyone else, like what do you reckon, what are some real quick things that you could kind of throw out to us about like what that actually means? Like what kind of things would you want people to do?
Having a face that is approachable is actually very key. And when I say a face, I also mean with our facial expressions. If we're just standing up there, we're angry, we're intense, we're pushing for a breakthrough, that doesn't necessarily, it's not welcoming.
No.
And if we're trying to, welcome ourselves through the gateway to God's presence, that's actually not necessarily the way to go.
It's good.
It's
good. I feel like we could talk for so long about this stuff. I mean, but those first 3 minutes of a service are just so important. A piece of advice I just give for all of our team, no matter where you're watching, and musicians, band, to make sure that you're not side of stage with 30 seconds to go, ready to go on into that service. I think you want to be there 2 minutes beforehand so that you kind of reset yourself and just think about what you're going to do to, you know, achieve that breakthrough in the first two, no matter where you are, sound, lighting, whatever. We can't just sit down at our seat. I know it's hard if we set up on eating breakfast, you know, get the McDonald's muffin in the face and then we're out there. But it's important for us to reset and then go again. Because we're kind of, that's important because that's going to make the difference in the first 3 to 5 minutes of the service. So we talked about praise, which is probably one of the things that is most misunderstood.
That's right.
In a church service. I think that people think it's a warm up, but we need to have a deep revelation of what it is. Which brings it.
Can I just say one other thing on that from like an atmosphere creation kind of thing? I think I've noticed for some like of the lighting team, there's been, I think, like a bit of an impression that we're trying to build into a service with like an atmosphere. So, you know, we might have lots of lights off and then we're kind of building into like everything kind of culminating at a chorus or something. But I think what we've been exploring is like the sense of like pre-service video finishes. The band starts up and it's kind of like this explosion of life, not like over the top like strobing or anything, but it's like the stage comes alive. Everyone on stage is like all in sync, you know, ready to go. Everything's happening. And then the congregation are like almost drawn into that sense of like, I'm engaging. So it's like we're not kind of like building into that. It's kind of like everything's kind of coming on, coming alive. That's
really good.
Good point as well.
And then so praise then launches us into worship. Traditionally, we would have a couple of songs of praise, one in some campuses, and then into our worship. And we're really just trying to, what are we going for there, Shehan, and worship and from a look and feel perspective? Like talking about worship. And we talked this afternoon about when we were planning this, what we present to God is an offering. So our worship is an offering to God. I mean, do you want to just talk about that?
Absolutely. I think there is really, you know, the foundations of worship being we want to lift up the name of Jesus and connect with God. Right. And that aside, everything we do, I think, you know, we come together as a united team to try and bring something to God. You know, so that's why we try and do the best that we can. That's why we learn the songs and don't necessarily have sheet music on stage. That's why we go for like a lighting plan and try and create something. Because I think a big part of our worship is actually creating something beautiful as an offering to God.
He's worthy of like.
He is.
All sorts of crazy expression, you know. It doesn't have to just be one particular.
Absolutely. And I mean, the flip side of that being, we could just stand up there and sing the song like a covers band. But I feel like our act of worship is actually bringing our talent and our gift and all the tools that we have, and trying to go, hey God, this is for you. You know, here is what we're doing, and it's for your glory.
Totally.
You know, so
it's good. So I want to just really start drilling into some. We don't have that much time left, but really some practical things about creating an atmosphere. Today we talked about lighting, so like positioning of lights and where they are. Perhaps you could talk to us about like lighting and sound guidelines kind of thing for a Sunday service.
Cool. Well, I mean, I don't think there's not necessarily any like document on like how to do those things currently for Arise, but we have like general rules. But I think from a lighting perspective, I've been thinking a lot recently about what lights are used for, and I think, you know, some campuses have more lights than others and that kind of thing. But I think just the things that I've been thinking about is kind of two main things. One is like what we use lights for. So and then the second thing is kind of like a sense of like layering those lights so that there's a dimension to the stage and it's not just like everything shines out at you or whatever. So I guess the things that I'm thinking about is to create an atmosphere it's really important to have like lights that come from multiple directions. Otherwise, you get a very harsh kind of light. So I don't know if you shine your iPhone torch and you get strong shadows, but if you have a light from here and a light from over here, then all of a sudden lots of those shadows are kind of filled in because they kind of intercept the light rays or whatever. I'm not a scientist, but so you have that kind of aspect. And then also from a stage point of view, you might have light shining from stage, but then you also need to think about lights that are shining on stage, but lighting up the stage, not just shining from stage. So you want some lights on your band members, some colored wash or whatever. Obviously you got a bit of haze, you want lights that's lighting up the haze as well, and then you've obviously got some lights that come out from the stage into the auditorium. And I think another thing that we've been talking quite a bit about recently is also the idea of crowd wash, and how if you can get some nice colored light around the crowd, how that actually draws people into the experience and stops the stage from feeling like this thing that you're spectating and watching. It actually draws people into an experience and makes it a lot more interactive. So that's kind of, I guess, some real quick things for lighting. And then for sound, Shehan's kind of touched on that idea of like feeling warmth, or I guess that's from an audio perspective, that's kind of perceived as things that aren't harsh, but also you want them to be clear. So we kind of think about building our mix at Arise with like, you've got kind of like your bass backline, and then you've got your vocals, and then just above that is kind of your lead vocal, and then the key parts of the band that you want to kind of like drive the mix are your kick and snare, kind of like holding the rhythm together, and then really the next most important thing is your lead vocal. And if you can get those kinds of things in place, great, then you're kind of bringing in the rest of the band. Bass is really important as well with kick, but then the rest of the band are kind of like what's kind of known as the harmonic content of a mix, and that's kind of filling out that warmness of the mix. You want everything to kind of gel together and work together. You want to be able to hear everything, but you don't want anything kind of poking out too much, unless it's like one of those key like little lines or whatever, where you can bring it out, bring it back, whatever. So that's kind of the key thing. So yeah, warmth I think is expressed in like not a lack of clarity, but not too harsh. Yeah, it's good. I just we talked recently about preparing, how a sound guy can prepare for a service. Nice. Could you just touch on that? Like how would you prepare? Well, I think what I do personally, and also I know a couple of other guys in Wellington, one of them being Cam Fowler, is really good at, well, I don't do this personally, he does this, but anyway, Cam Fowler is really good at, he has a little playlist that he puts together based on the songs that have been added to Alvanto, and he chucks them into a playlist and he kind of listens to them midweek, just to kind of get familiar with those songs. I think that's really important to be familiar with the songs before Sunday. So I always make a point of listening to them before I get to a Sunday, so I know what's going on, especially new songs. And then I actually kind of visualize what I imagine the band are going to be doing, and kind of have a plan in my head about how I might go about mixing those songs before I get there on a Sunday. And obviously sometimes that feels a little different once you're there, but it actually helps you get in the frame of mind of like, I'm engaged with this process. I'm not just there to do a technical role, but I'm actually playing a part in how that song's coming together and how it sounds. And
that's also important for other team members, I think. So whether that be lighting, or obviously worship would need to prepare in that way, but I was just going to say, I feel an understanding of what we're trying to do. This contributes to our unity.
Totally.
So just learning, preparing, for sure, and visualizing what we're going to be doing.
It's really, really good. We've kind of touched on a bunch of different things, sound, how sound guys prepare. One final thing, we're going to maybe go for 2 more minutes, and that is the Salvation altar call, which is just such a huge moment in our service. No matter where we are, it's something we do every week, but it's probably the one thing that we've just got to all engage. It's not an afterthought, and it's never ever, a familiar thing, the miracle of salvation. So our engagement in that moment across all of our teams is so important. You'll get and Sai today talked with us when we were talking about the fact that in that moment, basically our role is to try and remove any distractions. As have as minimal distractions as possible. Doing everything that we can to eliminate any
So I think especially all production operators, it's actually a real key time where it's important that you don't switch off. You're actually hyper engaged with that moment. Obviously from a faith level, like I'm always praying along with everyone else when if the preacher or the MC or whoever is taking the altar calls, like Christians, pray or whatever. Like I'm thinking about those things, but also I'm kind of just gauging the room and like making sure that I'm doing everything I can to stop someone getting distracted from being engaged with that person who's delivering that message. So I think just real practical things like lighting ops. I think you shouldn't be touching your desk at that moment, like thinking about the final song or anything like that. You just kind of like, you're in the moment, making sure that you've got the house lights set at the right level, that kind of thing. Worship team, I think they've got to be, if they're playing along with the behind the preacher, like what are they playing that's going to not be distracting, or like just making sure that they're engaged and like flowing together. And as sound guy, like I often think about making sure nothing's in the mix that's kind of standing out too much or sounding weird. Like I often pull out all the bass and guitars and everything and just have the keyboard there and try and make sure the drummer's not pounding away at a kick drum or a tom or something like that. And then, like as a team, as a whole, I think it's just important to be not moving around the auditorium or anything like that. Texting, anything like that. We just got to be like fully engaged and helping see that moment in the service be a big win,
Totally.
Shehan,
I was thinking especially from a keys perspective, for me that's been a key moment where engaging faith and not just playing, because sometimes when you play you're jamming, it's cool, it's fun, and it's your thing, but engaging faith, like you're saying, is so important. And I often think this is a moment that I can contribute to the vision and life and goal direction of our church, of my faith and what I can do here, so and I think so making sure that I'm praying is very, very key, and then just playing along and trying to minister with Pastor John or whoever's preaching, receiving the altar call is very key. It can be easy if it's not like your key moment. It's not the moment where you're doing all the cool things. So that's not you focused in your element to switch off. But actually, because that is the pinnacle of everything that we do in a service on a Sunday, then we all need to be engaged.
Man, you could do actually a whole webinar on ministry flow and altar calls, couldn't you? Well, I mean, we're pretty much out of time. We've already gone over time. Been waffling
all over time.
Thank you so much, everybody who's been joining in. We've had people from down south. We've had lots of encouraging people. Jack Redley's been joining us.
You guys have been the best.
Palmerston North. Palmy's been here.
Thanks to all the people that had criticisms that didn't post them in the chat. We appreciate that. Thank you guys. And we'll probably do something more. I think on our services, there's so many more technical things that we can do, that we can talk about. And we just really, to sum it all up, our goal is that people would know God in our services, and we're trying to create an experience where people would encounter Him and have their lives changed forever. So, bless you guys. Love you a lot. Don't know why I said that.
Thank you.
But we do, I feel like I'm on. All right. See you guys. Take it easy.
Catch ya.
That was so funny.
I think it was the